I want to welcome Rachel Gatling to the WEDC webinar, Find the Leader in You. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Persephone. Thank you, everyone. Now, I can't see the people. I see the names, but I can only see a limited amount of people. So, Persephone, I don't know if you can see them, but I would like you to be my eyes if you can. Can you?
Yes,
Okay,
I
great.
have to go through the different screens, but yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
anyone who has a question, put it in the chat box and I'll bring it to Rachel's attention.
Please do. Thank you. So, just to top off what Persephone said, if you are interested in looking up WEDC, it's wedcbiz.org. That's your website. So WEDC is it BI or BII? BI.
BIZ.
Okay. Yep. .org. So WEDCBIZ.org if you're interested, and you should be. So thank you all for joining. Thank you all for your different reasons for joining the topic, supporting me. I really appreciate it. I think that everyone can gain something from this information because I feel very strongly about it, and it's something that has attracted me from so long ago, and I continue to learn and grow from it, and especially now. And you'll see that, like Persephone said, I did this workshop last March 2019 for WEDC, and then I was able to even top off my information today for today's workshop. So I look forward to the next maybe hour and your feedback. The topic is Find the Leader in You, and you'll see, all of you see my presentation? Can you let us know you can see? Okay, great. You'll see my contact information. I have my website. I also have my email here as well. Just by a show of hands or comments in the chat box, how many of you are entrepreneurs? I would like to know that. I want to do the split between entrepreneur and in the business world. So you are employee, or even if you're a boss, you're employee in the business world. So how many entrepreneurs?
I can actually try to do this as a poll.
Oh, great. If you could do that, I would really appreciate it.
Okay.
I have some catered questions. And then, so basically, if you could answer, Persephone is going to do a poll. How many of you are entrepreneurs? How many of you are in the business world, so an employee? And then I know some of you are both. A lot of us are probably both. So please respond with that. With that, I will keep going with my presentation. Okay, so let's talk about my story. As Persephone said in the beginning, I'm an entrepreneur. My company is Change Your Story. So I have my nice little sign made. I know it's a little bit hitting the light, but that's okay. Change Your Story. And this is something, a company that I formed in 2014. And that leads me to the next line, which means I'm a professional development coach. You may say, what's that? Because you've heard career coaches, you've heard life coach. But what I do is I want to bring out the best professional skills in the people that I work with. Because what I found when I ventured into the business world, and like Persephone said, I have over 30 years of management experience, corporate experience, but I find that where you go, especially say as women, and then I also have two sets, so a woman, a Black woman, you don't always see people in the corporate world or even any business that look like you. And so when that happens, you really don't know how to navigate. And that could happen with anyone, but I found that I really got, I was kind of stuck when I moved, especially to New York. I'm originally from Virginia, and I saw people, they weren't looking like me, and I was a little intimidated. So I said, what can I do? Do I mirror somebody that I think that looks successful, or maybe they sound successful? What do I do? And it took a lot of soul searching, a lot. But it led me to know that I was fine being myself. There were certain things I could polish. Say, I could learn to speak better. I could learn to network. I could learn leadership. I could learn presentation. I could learn Excel. But being me as a foundation was enough. I just needed to sharpen those skills. And that's what I teach people. That's what my premise for my coaching is. I want to make sure that I am strong as being myself. And so that's what I teach other people. So Persephone, I'm looking at, okay, I see your poll. Okay, got it. So
launch the poll if people could take a minute to answer.
yes. Okay, I'll pause a little bit. So yes, Persephone has sent the poll to ask you, are an entrepreneur? Are you an employee? Are you both? And that will be helpful for me as I go along with the presentation. And as you're answering that, yeah, so those are the things that really plagued me until I found my way. And I found my way through, a career coach. I found my way through a lot of studying, a lot of confidence building activities, and a lot of just getting to know myself. And it's funny because you should know yourself better than anyone, but sometimes we need a little help on how to strengthen those things to know that what we're doing is not bad. Why do I need to keep harping on the things I don't do well instead of strengthening the things that I actually do? Okay, I see entrepreneurs, 64%, so nine. Five are not an entrepreneur, so an employee, 36%. And then working on becoming an entrepreneur, 64%. Persephone, there's an audience here for Websy.
Right, we have, thank you, everybody. All right, I'm listening to this.
WEDCBIZ.org.
I, I put it in the chat.
Okay, great.
Find our
Great.
Red Sea address in the chat. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. So then in 2014, I formed Change Your Story, came by that name, loved it, made sure I went straight to legal and registered it so that I could make sure that that's something I can use. Because what I really believe in is not changing who you are, but changing the story that you've been telling yourself. I can be successful being me. You know, I can learn different skills. I'm not bad at something, I'm just better at something else. So that's how Change Your Story came to be. And finding Websy put the icing on the cake because forming my business in 2014, I found that I was doing the right things in terms of my craft. I knew what to teach people. I knew how to bring out certain things in people and how to get them into an area of self-discovery. But what I didn't know is how to effectively run my business. So I floundered a little. And then somehow I ended up at a seminar where there was a WEDC graduate speaking, and she talked about a program that WEDC was doing called the 60-hour entrepreneur workshop. I'm messing up the name, but I know the 60-hour training workshop.
Training.
Yes, and it was excellent. It taught me all the ins and outs, and they still do this program. So when you look up the website, please pay attention to that because it taught me legal, marketing, finance, my vision statement, my ideal customer, end to end what I needed to do to become an entrepreneur. And I graduated in 2018. I have some of my class members with me. And like they said, Helen was the instructor who really kept us on our game. Yes, she's very good. So, but you see, we're still colleagues, friends today. So I would highly recommend this course, and that was icing on the cake for me. And that took me into not just having an idea or a hobby, but really having a business. And to my credentials, yes, I've been in management over 30 years. And what that means is I've been a people manager for over 30 years and project, process, everything. And a lot just, and when I say management, I know there's a difference between managing and leading. I've been a leader. And I've also gotten really high marks on leadership from the company, from employees, and it's something I study. I actually got a leadership certification last year because I really believe in it. I don't just let my skills go stale. I want to keep them up. And then I have a steady career progression. Now I'm in executive leadership. So my next one is girl power. Truly believe in girl power. Like we said, we don't shame boys, but I really like girl power because I find that there is so much that we can do to step up. There's so many insecurities that we have that men, and I'm going to generalize because I know there's always, you know, there's not never or any or everything. So, but in general, women downplay their skill sets, how they said that women have to be 100% or 90% qualified for a job to go after it, but a man is like 50%. And they're like, great. There are things that we do, and I mentor actually both men and women. And I see it all the time where a man will say, yeah, I'm not, and this was a recent mentor conversation. A man told me he said, I'm not going to look for jobs right now because how can I make a good decision? I don't know what kind of company I would work for because I don't get to see them and see their culture and really see who I'm working with and know them personally. So he basically based the fact that he wasn't going to look for a job right now because he might not like the company when he got to know it live whenever we come off of quarantine. as opposed to a woman I was talking to saying, I don't know if anybody would hire me right now. I don't know if they want to talk to me in person. I can't, I mean, and companies really aren't hiring. Two completely different conversations. So I say girl power. I want us to stand up and lead and be strong and use every opportunity that we are given. And we are given more than we realize. So I lead a women's network. I formed it back in 2018, 2018. So yes, WEDC and my women's network. I'm also a mentor and a coach, like I said. And then again, my theme is how to be successful at being you. And I live that theme. There's things I do well, there's things I do not do well. At the end of the day, I make a list of 3 things that day that what went well for me. I don't think about what didn't go well because I always learn the lesson. I'm always doing that lesson in that lesson mode, but I can't harp on that because if I do, it will completely crush me. So I prefer to think about what went well that day because I can repeat those things and make them even bigger. I'm also a lifelong learner, continuous education. Like I said, I have the entrepreneur graduate. I'm an entrepreneur graduate from WEDC. I also take other entrepreneur classes. I want to stay on all the latest things. And I wrote down what Persephone said. And as as WEDC has more workshops, I'm there. I make sure I'm there. I want to always support WEDC as well. And then I got a leadership certification, as I told you last year. And I continuously take courses because that's important for me. I'm a purposeful networker because I truly believe in the power of networking. So even through the quarantine, I join groups, professional groups, some just where we just sit back, have our drink of choice, and we talk to each other about whatever's going on to strengthen each other because I believe in the relationships. And I made new relationships even during the quarantine where I can't see you in person. I can't meet with you without being 6 feet apart, but that's okay. I get to know you. And I keep those relationships going, hence why I really love the fact that Helen was on our call last week, our WEDC call, and why she's here today. And then again, finding lessons every day and from anyone. I think there's people we write off. Maybe they seem like like we have no use for them or they can't teach us anything. But I truly believe that you can find lessons from anyone every day. All right, that was a lot about me. I usually don't talk that much about myself, but I did today. Okay, so let's talk about what I am going to talk about. Let's review what I will talk about today. 3 things. 1, understand that you possess the traits of a leader, all of us on the phone. I'm sorry, on Zoom. 2, we can learn to develop the skills to be a more effective leader. And 3, we can be more confident in our leadership skills. See, learn how to be successful being you. Let's talk about what is leadership. Now, again, if you have a question or a comment, please go into the chat. I can talk a lot. I have some water here that helps me talk, but I would love to hear from you. When we are live.
When you want, we can unmute people too.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. When we are live, we get together and we have a lot of dialogue. I know it's not the same, but it would be great to get your thoughts. So leadership. A leader is defined as the person or function of a leader, one who guides or directs. Something that I said earlier in terms of leading people, but you can also lead processes, you can lead projects, you can lead an initiative, you can lead an idea. So there's always areas for leadership. What we sometimes think is, I don't want to be a manager, I don't want to manage people. It's not easy, but you don't always have to do it. But then there are areas where you do have to. And that's why I asked you also, are you an entrepreneur? Are you an employee? Because you may be an entrepreneur and just starting out where you don't have employees, but there's still areas where you need to lead, especially now. But let's go before the quarantine. If there are vendors that you're doing business with, you need to have strong leadership skills. You don't want people to get over on you. You need to lead in order to build your business properly. Talking to a lawyer, talking to your accountant, you need to have certain leadership skills, and they're very, very important to have those things. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to lead a group of 20, 30 people, or I'm not going to do it all the time. Some people are more comfortable than others, but also know there's not one type of leadership that's most effective. So you don't have to be a dictator, right? You could also be what they talk about introverts all the time, people who are more soft-spoken, but they have strength in their character, in their soft-spoken character that also makes them effective. So the position or function of a leader, one who guides and directs. Number two is the most effective definition of a leader is one who has influence. How can you influence someone? How can you influence something? How can you bring a decision to a desired outcome? This is what a leader is. They have influence. And three is the ability to inspire someone into action. That's also influence, but it's not just having someone talk about things, but what do you need from that person? What does that person need to do? What do these people need to do? Being a part of WEDC, I absolutely love the program because what they did for us was give us the ability to be entrepreneurs. Now, whether we accept it or not, that was up to us. I accepted, but how could they bring us to the point where we knew our business was viable or made it viable and that we would end up having success in what we were doing or what we wanted to do, bring our idea into action. That's also a leader. Any comments on that? Any questions?
I have a comment, Rachel, if you permit me.
Yes, please.
Okay. So I think that what you're saying, I agree with everything you're saying, of course, but knowledge, gaining knowledge can transform people to be leaders. Because I think knowledge is power, and you can't be a leader if you don't have at least the basic knowledge and the desire.
Yes. And I write a lot, Helen. So,
okay.
And I do that all the time. When I teach, I always write because first of all, it helps me to learn, but also I love the conversation and I love the knowledge.
Okay. Sure.
Anybody else have a comment or a question?
I have a comment. Can I, Rachel, it's Andrea.
Yes, Andrea, hey.
Hey, so there's something to be said for fake it till you make it. And I just want to give the example of, like when I was having my website built, and I'm not the most assertive person, but I was spending a lot of money. And I felt strongly about the way I wanted to look. And it was at odds with the first kind of draft that she came up with. And I just had to do it and go against my nature because I'm the introvert that you talked about. So I really felt uncomfortable, but it was something I pushed myself to do because otherwise I would have spent a lot of money on a product I didn't like and wouldn't have represented my business.
Yep. Yeah, I like that you said that, Andrea, because you knew that the result of not stepping up and being a leader was actually more painful than just settling and getting something that you did not want and that you spent a lot of money on. And I saw your original where it wasn't reflecting your personality. So I love that. We're called to do it. And it's not always comfortable, but I don't think we can shy away from being in some type of leadership capacity. That's why I'm glad you're all here. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Rachel, this is Myrna. I would just like to comment. Hi. First of all, I was going to comment on Helen and then also Andrea. I totally agree that the knowledge is what's going to help you be confident and feel courageous to step out. And then in relationship to what Andrea was saying, it's that leadership courage that helps once you get that knowledge is being able to step out and execute the knowledge. And so I'm appreciative of what you are providing today and also the comments that I've just heard from Andrea and from Helen, and they resonate.
Thank you. Tell me your name again. It didn't come up on my screen.
This is Myrna.
Myrna. Hey, you know what? A picture came up without your name.
Yeah, it's after you've been inside for 8 weeks and you're a Black woman, you can just imagine what my hair looks like.
Excuse me, mine is well, mine might be that bad too, so never mind. Okay, no, but a picture popped up. Hey, Myrna. Okay, so you know what? You're absolutely right. And I like that. And you did mirror what Helen said about the knowledge and with Andrea about the stepping up. You're absolutely right. That's why it's important for you when you see these types of classes. And I love, I think I'm going to plug Wetsy the entire time. And they didn't tell me to do this, but you see the courses. One of the courses she did was free. One of them was $10. We need to invest in ourselves. That's important because the investment will always net returns bigger than an investment. It depends on what we do with it, meaning that if I invest in this course and I get something out of it and then I apply it, it's going to give me exponentially more than what my investment was. But seeking out it is out there for us, especially now, because the world has had to change and make more things accessible to us in our home. So once that happens, if we take advantage of it, it just makes us even stronger. So thank you all for those comments. And then I added something because last time I had this on my slide, but I put why. And why is important. And it's like, they say like a child, you know how you ask a child say, why? But why? But why? And in the business world, there's a lean concept called 5 times why, meaning that when there's a problem, you should go down 5 levels to find out why did this happen. Oh, my refrigerator's leaking. Well, why? Because I think it's broken. Well, why do you think it's broken? Well, I think it's broken because it was making noise all night. Well, why was it making noise all night? Well, maybe because I made a mistake and unplugged, whatever it is. And you do that until you get to the issue. So maybe it's not 5 because it's called 5 times why, but maybe you need 8 whys, or maybe you need only 3 to get to the issue. But I always like to ask.
I'm laughing just because when I moved into a new apartment and fridge had a problem and making noise all the time, and I was like new co-op owner and stressed out about it. Well, it turns out that it had ice in the behind the where you keep the fruits and vegetables, like thick ice, and it took a while to find that, but once I did, it stopped the noise. It stopped. So it really is amazing because at the first few weeks, it was like, why?
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for the thick ice. So anyway, it really is amazing how the why, and that's also a good point we tell entrepreneurs about what's the customer problem, and really getting at solving the problem, because you might think you know the problem, but until you test it, and talk to them, you don't know. So it's like the 5 whys, I think, applies too to it. Where is the opportunity for your business?
Absolutely, because we should always be curious and not make assumptions. That's why the why is there. And you're absolutely right. Taking from the refrigerator with the ice to the entrepreneur and to servicing our customer. Why does this happen? Why does the customer feel that way? Why is someone suffering with leadership? Why don't they want to be a leader, right? Why do they feel that their leadership skills aren't enough? So it's always important. And I think you should always be curious, especially about yourself and your business, because that leads you down to a self-discovery that I think will completely change your business, change your life. So when I look at leadership, why is leadership important? And it's because, like we talked about before, you can make really good decisions. Why is it important now? I read a social media post. They have some really funny ones, some really edgy ones, especially now. But one said, people say we are all in the same boat because we're on the quarantine. But they say we're really not, because some of us have children all over the house where we're struggling maybe to work, or some are happy because we finally get to spend time with our children. Some have their spouses at home and you're trying to do conference calls, both of you at the same time, and it's struggling. Some of you have spouses at home and maybe you're conflicting a bit because you aren't used to that. Some of us are by ourselves at home and maybe you feel lonely. Some of us are by ourselves at home and we're like, oh, this is great. I haven't had a chance to do these types of things in a long time. Some of us are employed. Some of us are unemployed. So we're not all in the same boat, but hopefully we are all coping or adjusting. I would say we are adjusting, but maybe some of us are not. Hopefully we are all adjusting. So it's important to get this, and it's important to get the leadership skills. And why leadership? Because if we want to lead anything, our process, our recovery, right? Our new state of normal, because like we all agree, there won't be the same state of normal. When we can go outside, we'll go outside with masks on. Well, we need to be able to get what we need. That's the best phrase and I love to say that. We need to be able to get what we need, whether that is a new job, whether that is a new process for coping, whether that be making sure that we're now taken care of or we're taking care of other people because of the effects of the coronavirus. We need to be in some type of leadership position. Again, maybe it's not people, maybe it's process, maybe it's projects, maybe it's things, maybe it's ourselves. I have to lead myself every day or I might go astray. Okay?
Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Alexandra,
great.
hi.
Hi, I was cleaning up a spilled fruit punch before, but my
Why?
daughter thought if she came in here, it would be an easier place to have school.
No.
Following up on both something you've all said and Andrea said, especially when you made the point about your site, you knew what you wanted. I think all of it and all of that you said is being true to yourself. Yes,
Yep.
you need the knowledge to share. You need to
Yep.
have something to share, but you really, in the whole process, being true to yourself.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm telling you, I'm such a proponent of that. I'm like, you have to know what you get when you get me because we are all for everyone. Something we did in the entrepreneur workshop, we talked about our ideal customer. And I love that because we don't always define that. And if we don't, then we try to service everyone and we get lost and we can feel inadequate because maybe we're not the right fit as, say, coach and client. And if I keep trying, I'm going to lose my confidence as opposed to saying, you're looking for a different type of skill set. So maybe I then refer you to someone else. And I think Andrea and I had this conversation before because we talked about what needs a coach versus who needs a therapist, right? And they can sometimes seem similar because maybe someone is struggling with themselves in terms of their leadership skills, but maybe some people are just, they have trauma and that's why they can't, say, step into a certain role at work. And maybe then I need to lead them to someone who really specializes in that. And if I keep trying, I'm going to feel like, well, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe this is not my business model because I'm servicing someone that I should not. And is that a fault of mine? No, it's just not my skill set. All right. Also, why at this time, I think it's a great time and a necessary time to step up. I see a lot of, and that's why I also wanted to know about employees and entrepreneurs, because I see that it is a really good time to really shine. We're all in some type of, they say, stages of grief, where we're in denial, like, I can't believe this is happening. Some are in acceptance. Sometimes some of us are in anger, different stages, but we also, like I said, have to adjust. So I've seen organizations, I've seen managers step up. I've seen employees step up to be a part of the solution and say, look, I know this is happening. I know our organization is closed, but what can I do? So from the employee side, they can say, hey, how can I support the organization even more by going to the manager, and either you say I have ideas, or you say, look, what can I do to make sure that things are running smoothly? How can we react? Because we all have different ways that our companies have reacted to this issue. Some of them have even closed temporarily. I know most of us are, if we are working from home, and some of us are not working. If you're an entrepreneur, there's also ways your business may be closed, but how can you use your expertise to help other people? I know, I'm going to say a personal story. I had a lady who I know, hopefully she's on the call, and she taught me how to do my makeup because I'm not so good at it. And people have seen me with no makeup on for quite some time, and they know they're probably tired of it. So I said, look, how can I look good for this camera? And she gave me wonderful tips on how I'm supposed to look at the light and, make sure your nose isn't shining, which it probably is right now. But to do certain things so that I can make sure I look good. So this is her profession, and she's still able to adjust because there are many people in the same boat as I am. They're going to do a Zoom call, they're going to do Zoom meetings, and they get tired of looking a little worn, and maybe they want to step up their look for these types of forums. So there's ways that you can step up and share your expertise because people are lost. And I see it from, say, churches, family, friends, organizations. There's all things that we can pass on our knowledge of to help people adjust during this period. Even this workshop today and what WETC has adjusted, this was supposed to be in person again. But then WETC reacted and said, let's make this a Zoom meeting. I was all for it. I've been doing a few trainings virtually, and I think they're going well. I think as well as can be expected, because some people say, I'm Zoomed out, but it depends on what you want and what you need, and you can actually get what you need. But when you're an entrepreneur, there are offerings that you can make to others in your expertise that can make you resilient at this time. I saw the restaurant up the street that's doing a lot of business. They said they bring you margaritas. They're delivering margaritas. Hey, it works because they're busy all the time. So learning to step up, that is some of the why. Why a leader? Why right now? Very relevant. Things are closing, but there's ways that we can be resilient. Any other questions or comments on this one? Okay.
I was going to make a comment, if I may, Rachel.
Please.
Okay, this thing that you said about know your client is so key, because, and I was just speaking to someone yesterday, consulting them, and they said, I don't know if I'm going to still have my same client. And I said, do you know your client already? He says, yeah, I've been in business for about 3 years. And I said, why don't you go through the list of clients you have now? But it has to be homework. Go through the list of clients you have now. Reach out to them now, like you're doing, Rachel. Give them a little Zoom. She said, well, I checked in with them. No, do something more formal, something free, like you say, and do something formal. Basically, you're going to find out, what are your needs going to be tomorrow? What kind of client will you be after this pandemic?
Yes.
And that's going to tell you if you have to come up with a plan B of another complementary product or service. I mean, this is a time to explore.
Yes. I like that.
I'm doing that myself. So
I would love to add to that. The more you know yourself and your super abilities, and you align with where the client, what they're needing now with what you do best, then it will take off. It will really take off. I think if you try to be things for people that you're not, like you were saying, Rachel, I had a private coaching business when my kids were little, and my very first client, I worked really hard with her, but she didn't need my kind of coaching. And so it was frustrating for me. And when I got clear on who I worked best with, I loved the work. It didn't even feel like work because I got clear on who my gifts worked well with. And so I think this is an opportunity now to find out the changing needs, but to remember to match it with the things you do best.
Absolutely. I'm making plenty of notes from you all. You're absolutely right.
And Persephone, if you don't have the skill and they don't need your skill, we know enough people now to refer them to someone else.
Right. And then you have the goodwill from that person.
Yes.
They'll refer back to you, so.
Yes.
So hence the networking, right?
There you go, networking.
But it's also leadership, right? Leadership, I like that, first taking the step, first knowing yourself, taking the leadership steps to say, I'm going to learn myself. Second is to actually reach out to the people, like Helen said, to find out, because we are handling it a different type of way, but we're all having to adjust to say, how are you doing? Wouldn't that be really nice if you kept that contact with your clients to find out, how can I service you? Yeah. And then continue from there. You can still manage your business and create creatively, right? I know some people are doing better now than they were before the quarantine, because reaching out helps you to distinguish yourself as opposed to before you were all in the same boat. When I went down, I live on a busy street in White Plains. And before, when I drove down or walked, I see restaurants and people were kind of splitting up. Maybe I'll go here, maybe I'll go there. But because everyone isn't as resilient as the margarita place, now there's not so many restaurants. Some are saying, sorry, we're closed. Some are just trying to service customers. I mean, most of them are using a type of delivery service, Uber Eats or whatever. But there's one that stays busy all the time because they're really staying live and lively and coming up with creative solutions. There's some leaders in there. Thank you all for this dialogue. I appreciate it. The next slide is their examples of leaders. We have, and I chose not to make this a current political meeting, political picture, because then we'll have all types of conversation that we shouldn't have. So we're looking at people. We have Joseph Stalin, we have John F. Kennedy, we have Gandhi, we have Oprah, and then we have a gang here. And then my favorite, the little tiny dictator, because I think she's just so fierce. However, it's not a good face that we're supposed to use as a leader. But the difference is, remember, we talked about the fact that leaders are influencers. And note here, I never said a leader had to be good, a good leader. They should be, but leadership does not mean that you have, say, such moral compasses. It just means that you are a person of influence. And when there's a person that's telling you hi, embracing you in a family, and then telling you to do harm to yourself and other people, and if they're influencing you, then they're a leader. They may be a gang member, but they are a leader. And this tiny dictator, I know she's probably fierce on the playground, making all the people do what she wants them to do. Any comments about this slide?
Well, I have a comment that I maybe resonates with some of you. My daughter, when she was about, I don't know, 12, she said to me, Mom, every time someone's going to do something, they look at me like I'm the leader. I don't really think I'm the leader. Why are they thinking I'm the leader? Because sometimes we get assigned this leadership role, and it may not be something you want, right?
Yeah.
But I always tell people they see something in you.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you're bossy. It doesn't mean you're always outspoken. And I have to say something to Andrea. Andrea starts always by saying, I'm not confident. Andrea, don't tell me what you don't think you are. Tell me what you are, because if people hear you, they will never think that you are not confident. Someone like you that's done a podcast, that's done all this work. So if they see leadership in you, embrace it.
So I like what you said, Helen. Yeah. I like what you said, Helen, because that speaks to what they say, the power of being you. When I started out this webinar today, it was to talk about what you do well and not talk about what you don't. And that's also a bad trait in women, where we want to just downplay ourselves. I don't know if it's, we don't want people to think that we think more of ourselves than we do, or, you know, we don't want people to think that we're cocky. But it's very important that we don't start that way, because, and I actually told someone this, that I am coaching, if you don't believe in yourself, why should I believe in you? And you want me to buy into your services and your product, well, then I need to see it in you first. You know, whether you feel it or not, go feel bad later with someone else, right? But not with your clients. So you're absolutely right. And I know Andrea personally, and so I know that she has the goods as well. And you're right. If someone tells you that, if they always look to you or they say you're the leader, kind of accept it and embrace it. You don't have to then go and they push you out and you lead the team of 100 people if you don't feel confident in it. But you need to take that into consideration and explore that of yourself. Even seek some guidance to say, hey, people are saying this about me. I don't know, is it true? That's important. Thank you for that. Love all this wisdom. And like I said, examples of leaders. These are people who can influence. And I love Tiny Dictator because she doesn't have no one said, like, she doesn't have a title. She's a little girl, but she has established herself and she made herself into a leader. Actually, I should have put some other people here as well, because I think in one of my other ones, oh yeah, we had a discussion about mothers. We had a discussion about team members. We had a discussion about friends, because it's funny, you can get a group of friends, but there's always one that's in charge. Whether they say it or not, there's one that's in charge. Okay. All right, moving on here. Traits of a leader. This is very important. And we had a very good discussion about this when we were live, but I changed the slides just to take out some of the negative comments, but they were still leaders, right? Vision and mission driven. And this may be informal as well as formal, because maybe they say that, hey, my mission is to get 3 contacts this month, 3 new clients this month. And so this is my vision, this is my mission, this is what I'm going to do. All right, so that's one trait. Accountable and responsible. This person is going to step up and take responsibility for whatever needs to be done. They're not, I've been in groups where they say, well, what are we going to do? and everyone's looking around, but who's taking the accountability? Who's okay with saying, all right, I made a bad decision. I did something that maybe didn't work out. That's the trait of a leader. Someone who's decisive. You are okay. You're comfortable making a decision. I like Andrea's example about her website. She's like, that's not the right thing. That's not the right website for me. Because she could have gone along with this woman who represented her in not the best way, but she made a decision. And leaders make decisions. They're self-motivated. Now, let me go through this and say, you don't have to have all of these, right? Because no one's perfect. There will be something where you may need some help. And when you do, that's when we get to a lot of different topics about networking, about partnering, about seeking knowledge, like we talked about in the beginning. But these are traits that you should have depending on your level of leadership that you seek. Decisive, self-motivated, because you can't always wait for people. And that's why I said usually in a group of friends is one person who says, okay, I got it, right? Passionate. You want to be passionate about what you're trying to lead. And that's why I say, especially now, these are going to show, say, business people, entrepreneurs, employees, who is the one that's going to show that they are resilient in this time of things being unsettled. Tough-minded, because you can't be someone who, say, easily gets offended or easily just gives up. You need to be tough-minded. Team and people-oriented. If you're going to lead people, you need to like people. And I've heard people say, I don't like people. Well, then you just need to be an individual contributor. And that's okay, because there are individual contributors and there are team-oriented people. So team-oriented, people-oriented. You need to be empathetic. You need to say that sometimes things may not be going so well for people, or sometimes you need to just lay off. And I know when we look at the previous slide, we see some of the dictators, and so we saw the dictator, and maybe he wasn't so empathetic, but then that's not a very good leader. And you need to step up. You need to step up. You can't be the one that's looking around. I mean, every so often you can allow other people, but you can't be the one that says, okay, no, I'm just going to always wait for someone to appoint me. And then look at the last one, not always appointed. You may not have leader in your title. You may not be a manager, but it's important that when you step up, it is a trait of a leader. One thing that I see today in these times where I'm on a lot of calls and people are working from home and they're talking about different projects, and we've been diverted to different projects that are supporting health and wellness and the coronavirus, all types of things. And what I see is some people really stepping in to give ideas, people stepping in to say, all right, I may have thought this in the past, but I didn't say anything, and now I want to speak. People who are maybe before they were a little more shy, but they actually schedule that side meeting with their boss to say, hey, is there anything that I can do? Because maybe we're not focused on my project anymore. So is there something else that I can be doing? Or maybe we are, I still have my regular work, but I want to do a little bit more to support the effort. People who are saying that, yes, I know in the past I was a restaurant owner and maybe my restaurant isn't doing business, but how can I then divert to something else that is a little more relevant? So for example, I want to feed some of the frontline workers. Maybe that I can offer, maybe I can't afford to feed them completely, but I can offer a free coffee for frontline workers. How can I use my skill and my service and my expertise, and even taking it farther, my passion because maybe I wanted to divert from my career a little bit and do something else, but how can I change up and then service people who may need my help? One thing that I do know, we all need help with something, and especially now.
Yeah,
How
and
can
in the chat we have Rachel Jacobs says authentic, communicative, and transparent are also really useful traits.
Transparent, authentic, and communicative. I love that. You're absolutely right. Communication is so important. And yes, authenticity. I was just having this conversation the other day, being yourself. People can forgive a lot of things if you're being yourself. I speak really fast. So if I'm talking too fast, write in the chat, slow down, Rachel. But I know that's me, and people can forgive me as long as they can understand what I'm saying. So yes, I like those: authentic, communicative, and what's the last one again? Transparent. Thank you. So I've seen traits of a leader now, and look, we all have our own ways to process. So maybe at first we can't step up because we need to digest this for ourselves. And that is very, very valid because we're all going through a few things. However, what we need to then do is, like we talked about earlier, like Helen brought up, get the knowledge that we need, how to move forward. I know when things happen, I don't search out the negative side. There's so much on the news. There's so much on the radio and social media. And I still get newspapers. I love newspapers. But I can't read all of that. I have to pick and choose my stories. Now, I will listen to the news because I want to know what's going on for a limited amount of time. But then I change my search to successful searches. So, for example, with the coronavirus, I look up people who have been healed, people who have been cured. Those things give me hope. I remember I had a relative who had a terminal disease, and where people kept looking up symptoms and life expectancy. I chose to look up success. How did people overcome this disease? Because that's really important to see the positive side. Because what that allowed me to do was to step up and do things that would empower me and result in a successful outcome. So doing this now, you all have taken a really good step in signing up for a leadership class for whatever reason. And that's why I said I'm hoping that you get something out of it, because that will only allow and empower you to get, when you leave this workshop, to be able to step up in your own way, in your own career, in your own business, in your own life, because we're all a part of our lives, our personal and professional is mixed, and be more effective and get great ideas.
In the chat, we have flexibility, ability to adapt and grow, a growth mindset, resilience.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
And
Thank you.
don't they all seem so necessary right now during this time, all of those, because we don't know, every day is sort of, we have to figure out new things, and we have to adapt and not be too wedded in the old ways, because we may never go back to.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We won't go back, but we'll go forward in a different way.
Yeah.
Now we'll all wash our hands all the time.
A theme I was hearing you say, and I've heard it in other webinars during this time, is people will always remember getting helped and heard during this stressful time. Like, they will remember that, even if you're not doing business with your clients, if you're checking in, if you're sharing a resource, that people will remember that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You've echoed that in many of the things you've said.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Persephone. And please, those, the chats, if you could send me those, well, keep them. And so I want to add those to my slide as well. I'm writing, but I'm not writing fast enough. And that would be great, because I want to add them to the slide. And you made a comment I love. These were traits that were already, we're saying these are traits that are needed in a leader anyway. And now they're really needed in these types of times. So what I'm hoping is that when we are evaluating ourselves to say, what do I need? We will add those to our toolkit, and that will be part of our study in being a stronger us. Knowing that we need it for not just leading people in the workplace or people in our business.
Yes, and we get a transcription of the chat, so I
can
get that to you. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I am going to take a couple minutes for a break in case anybody needs to do any bio stuff. I'm going to take maybe 5 minutes just to give you a chance, stretch yourself. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do some scenarios. Okay, some leadership scenarios. This is my favorite part. All right. Thank you very much. Don't forget, and while you're on break, if you're not doing anything, go to wedcbiz.org, wedcbiz.org. Thank you. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Julie. Hello?
Rachel, everything okay? Is there anything I can support you with going forward?
No, you know what? I'm going to do the scenarios. So I'm hoping to get a lot of commentary here, hopefully. So we'll just further commentary.
Okay.
And yeah.
There's a way I can unmute everybody. Would you like that?
Oh, that would be good. Yeah, I think that'll be
All right,
good.
so
When we
when
get
you're
to the-
ready, just tell me and I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think we should have everyone back. We're at the 5 minutes. We all
Ariadne's
survived.
asking, what is the roadmap that you take us through for us to find our own leadership?
Say that again. Sorry, I missed that part.
Ariadne asks in the
Oh.
chat, what is the roadmap to find our own leadership?
That's the next step. That's our next thing. Because this is like the overview. And then I do a leadership. Actually, I'm going to say that at the end to talk about what my upcoming seminars are. But I know we had that discussion, Persephone. So I'll just tell her to reach out to me if she's interested. And then I will talk about the specifics leadership that I do.
Okay, terrific.
Yes. This is the overview. But I like the question. All righty. So let's talk about scenarios. I have 5 here. I had 3, but I added 2 because of where we are. And I'm going to start with them. I'm going to start with the end because I know I'm being cognizant of time, but I also would like some really good dialogue and I want to be very sensitive, but also relevant. So these are basically little breakouts that we did before about putting leadership into action. And again, I know we're on Zoom and we're virtual, but Persephone is going to unmute everyone so that we can then talk to each other because I think this is important for us to talk about. Number 5. First, there is a pandemic and my employees are working from home, I hope. And the reason why I say I hope is because I know before the pandemic, employers were very hesitant. Some were more progressive than others, but some were hesitant to let people work from home completely. I know the world was turning that way and a lot of employers were having to open up that as an option because the work world was becoming so rich and so plentiful that you had to offer more incentives to get qualified people to work for you. But they were still scared because was your person really working from home? How could you manage that? There were advantages and disadvantages. Advantages were they didn't have the commuting time and sometimes you work longer. But disadvantages were that you really couldn't monitor them unless you were micromanaging or you had some type of system installed on their computer. But now with the pandemic, if you're operational, you have to let people work from home. But then with managers being scared, you say you hope your employees are working from home, but you really don't know. How can you, as a manager, make sure your employees are working from home without micromanaging and becoming a boss that no one likes? What are you doing today? What time are you logged in? Log in with me, meet with me. How can you manage this situation properly? And Persephone, you can now unmute
Okay.
people.
Okay, unmute all. If you have a lot of background noise, if you could mute yourself.
Yes, please.
So I know that they say that in studies I've seen, people work harder when they feel respected and trusted, that they will put in more time, and give more. And so in management style, it's conveying that, sort of encouragement and acknowledging when somebody's done a good job, that it's the opposite of the micromanaging. The micromanaging is what makes people, I'm going to go take the afternoon off when they feel micromanaged, in my experience.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Respect and trust. I like that. And do the opposite of micromanaging. All right. Anybody else?
I would say just clear goals, clear deliverables. So then, whether someone wants to work from 11 at night to 2 in the morning, or they want to work first thing, or they need downtime, whatever it is, as long as they get their reach their goal, have their deliverable, I think whatever that is.
Okay. Very nice. So be clear, like keep the work in mind, but just be clear on what they're responsible for doing.
What they're responsible for and when it has to be delivered by. Timeline.
Okay. That's a great one as well.
So as someone that's been working as a telecommuter for 5 years, I can definitely speak to what Persephone said. When I felt respected and engaged and productive, and my work was appreciated, I worked longer hours, I worked harder, I stepped up to the plate more, I took more responsibility. Well, I was under more stress. We won't talk about what that happened, but now that I have a different boss and I don't feel that way,
Yep.
I'm just like, putting in my time, on like 1 to 8, log off at 1 after 5, really not that motivated, because I don't feel as appreciated. I feel micromanaged.
Yes.
I have a program on our computer from the home office, and it just monitors the activity on your keyboard and your mouse. So it can tell that if you're away too long, that you're not working.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like Big Brother, right?
This happens. I've heard of this for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
They can tell if you go to a shopping website versus like a more relevant website.
Okay.
It's also a time that, people could have a lot of good ideas, a lot of brainstorming right now. And I think it would be a good time to tap into your employees' creativity. Things might not be working in certain areas. What could we do? What do you, just have a lot of brainstorming too. Come up with ideas, even if it's, just to get people a little bit more engaged. It depends on what the business is, but more engaged and more excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm thinking that, checking in, of course, is always good, but you would have to review and reinstate the why. Why are we doing this? Is it still relevant? Because everything's changing every day. So if you
come back to the why, Helen.
Yeah, exactly. If you started to do this a couple of months ago, and now maybe at that time you were more focused, people were a little bit more enthusiastic, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm still working on the same thing and it's 2 months and we're still locked down. I mean, why? What is the end product really worth this? Maybe it's time for a change, or maybe you still have to do it because you have a big why.
Yes. Okay. Anybody else? I love these suggestions. I love it. Respect, trust, reiterating the goals and the timelines, and tapping into the why. Anybody else? This is a really good question, and I put up the traits of a leader on purpose here because this is where you go back to your toolkit to say, I don't need to act situationally, but I need to go back to my foundation. Who am I as a leader? What made me strong as a leader is even more relevant right now. So when there's a pandemic and you are nervous that your employees are not working from home, and I know we're surprised at what, but
Sorry, I muted people. Sorry, I muted people because we were getting a lot of background noise. So Rachel.
Okay, I unmuted myself.
Okay, good. I think we better stick to people unmuting themselves because we were just
Okay.
getting a lot of background noise.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know how much you heard, but I think that the reason why I put back the slide about the traits of a leader is because we need to go back to our foundation. When these situations happen, they can knock us off our game, but we then need to go back to what made us a leader, what makes us strong, what is our skill set, what are our strengths? And when you go back to that, you say, okay, then what can I do to adjust myself? Like someone mentioned flexibility, right? And empathy. And then we then take that approach with our employees. The first thing we should do is check in. How are you doing? You know, because we're all in a different situation, but leaders are, they step up, they're empathetic, they have the vision, but they also have a bigger responsibility. They need to step up and ask and be leaders and talk to them and say, how are you doing? How is my employees? How are my staff members? How are my friends? They have to step up and first check in. How are you doing? How are you handling things? What can I do for you? There's a phrase out there called servant leadership. It's very, very relevant, and it helps when people know that they can count on you, not just when you want something, not just when you want an assignment, but when they really need help. So you check in, ask what they need, be empathetic. I like what Alexandra said, because it's important. You can't forget about the business. To say, maybe they need to reiterate, this is what's due. However, can I help you? I know that some of my staff members have asked for adjusting schedules, because then maybe you're working right beside your partner, but the kids aren't being taken care of. So can we stagger some things? What do you need to be successful, right? And so that's something as an employee you communicate with your manager, but then your manager can ask those questions. And like Andrea said, the respect and the trust actually help your employees to feel better about you, and they'll work harder, they'll work longer. There's a phrase out there that say, you quit your boss, not your company. And I've seen it happen so many times. You can fight a good fight and work all around the clock if you have someone that believes in you, trusts you, respects you, honors you, than someone who doesn't and you're only working 8 hours. Okay, so that's important. Be flexible. The timeline, I like that as well, to say, this is due here, but what can I do to support you? I understand there's something different going on. And then you'll have to adjust some of your meetings. Maybe have a meeting to say, look, let's have a sharing session. How are you feeling right now with your employees? Let's talk about how we can support each other, how we can support the business, the religious institution, the organization. What can we do ourselves, and tell me what you need. And I find that we can get together better if we're able then to first check in, use our empathy, acknowledge what's going on, and ask how you can be part of the solution. Any other advisements on this one? You hope your employees are working from home. Like Andrea said, which I love, she is the prime example because she's been doing it for 5 years. When you have the trust, when you have the leadership of your manager, then you're more apt to do it. You're more apt to be faithful. You're more apt to even do even more work than you usually would do, especially now.
So one of the things as a supervisor that I've had to shift is from being activity driven to outcome driven, and really explaining to my employees what the difference is between being busy and being productive is. There's a lot of confusion. People will send us we have them do weekly reports of what you're working on every day, and they'll send me a log of, I spent 30 minutes on my email. I'm like, that's great, but what did you accomplish?
Yes, yes. I love that. And I love your name. So yes, Rachel, you're absolutely right. Being busy versus productive. And you're right. Instead of saying, okay, well, I started at 8 o'clock and I worked on emails till 10 o'clock. And then, I took a 15-minute break. You're right. Explaining what you did. And I think that goes back to also what Andrea said, being clear on the objectives and the timeline.
Yes.
Yeah. Because then you're letting them know you have a new level of support. I remember the first time years ago when I started working from home, I was so lost. I was still trying to get in a little bit of TV because I didn't want to give that up. And I was like, oh, this isn't working, right? And then I remember my manager saying, let's talk about the tasks of today. Let's talk about this. It still steps in to be a leader, not the micromanager type, but let's talk about what's due when, and then do you need help adjusting and readjusting your schedule? Some people don't know how to do this well. It's hard when you come out of the bed, and people make jokes about it, but you come out of the bed. Some people, you get yourself ready, or some people just get right on the computer. Where's the divide that you used to have when you commuted? You mentally got prepared for the office. Now we're not doing that anymore. Some people are good at it. Some people have experience and some people don't.
Absolutely. And I supervise a diverse generational divide. I have people that are very proficient with technology and people that are a little bit technology averse. And one thing I've noticed is I've had to step in as a supervisor and really help people to manage their time. Some people will work and they don't have that 9 to 5, so they're working until the evening, and all of a sudden now they're working 60 hours a week and feeling overwhelmed. And so really teaching people how do you work from home is a skill that's not inherently known.
Absolutely. Tell us which skills that you use, which leadership skills that you use to really influence people in a good way. So they said, okay, now I'm getting this, or maybe I don't have it yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things I do use a lot of technology, and I make sure that the technology is user friendly. There is a platform called Trello, Trello. It's like a task management website. So I use that, and I have people kind of self-monitor their work, and I have them set goals for the beginning of the week and outcomes for the end of the week. And then on Fridays, I have them send in their reports, and on Mondays we do a face-to-face Zoom where we do cross-reference. Okay, what did you set out to do? What did you accomplish? What resources or tools do you need? And now the conversation also has shifted from like physical, facility-wise tools and resources to emotional self-care. Are you taking time? Are you taking your lunch break? Are you working through your day? Just a lot of compassion and listening. And then really having our staff take accountability and ownership of their work while working from home.
Okay. You know what? I like that. I really like that story, Rachel. I wrote down a few things, but one thing that I wrote down about you that stood out the most was accessible, because that's something maybe we didn't say. And I apologize if someone said it in the
And we
chat.
do in the chat. We have open door policy, empathetic, understanding that some employees are reluctant to ask for help.
Yes. Okay. Whoever wrote that, very nice. And I get a lot of great comments. That's why I love these. I love the interaction. And again, I will add this to my slide, but accessible and open door policy. I love that, and flexible, because Rachel, you showed that. And by you doing it, that helps others. Like you said, some people were more technology averse, but you also, I wrote down problem solver. You found a solution for them. You found a tool, because some people will say, well, just take your time, try your best. Which, okay, great to motivate, but some people need more than others. And I like also the consistency of your group. So someone's not sending you an email with their task. Like you said, oh, from 8 to 8:30, I did emails, but they actually are all doing the same thing. So then not only do they depend on you to solve the problem, now they can work with each other, right? To say, hey, I know we have that meeting and you may be farther along with Trello than I am. So I need you to teach me. I need you to help me. Hey, can we work on our Trello boards together? Because we know the check-in is coming, in a good way. And then you don't just say, hey, what'd you do all day? Hey, your Trello board doesn't look right. You're showing empathy and compassion, asking them, is there something else that they need? I really like that example.
And I like that it's a structure to identify the gaps, like it's a visual that literally, you have kind of expectation and achievement, and then what are the gaps and how can you work towards filling the gaps? So
absolutely.
A great
because
structure.
It's easy to be impatient, to say, I can't believe you're not getting this, oh my gosh, figure it out. That's not a leader, because we're in a time that hasn't happened before. So we need to make people feel confident, and everyone has something to offer. Like I said before, knowing yourself, feeling strong being you, but also knowing that everyone has a strength. So maybe I might not be the most technologically advanced person, but maybe I'm the best communicator. So you still need me, or maybe I'm the one who brings people together. So if someone else like Julie can teach me Trello, but I can be the one that brings us all together without you, so that we're all giving the same message, and then that makes your job much easier the next day when I said, hey, I've gathered all of our inputs. This is what we've done well. This is where we still need your support. Leadership. Hey, that's a good question. That makes me excited. Anybody else on this particular one? I love learning from each other. All right, let's go to number 4. There's a pandemic and my business is temporarily, so hopefully temporarily shut down, that is not permanent. Okay, first of all, I can't see past this thing here. I can't see past the pictures, but there's a pandemic. My business is temporarily shut down. What do I do?
So I've been on a bunch of calls that have been about how to reset during the pandemic, and so early in the first, when this first went down, people were talking about living to fight another day, you know, so really breaking it down into what can I do today? You know, what do my clients need? What am I, you know, I heard this thing that Target was only selling tops because everybody's on Zoom. So the bottom pants, yoga pants, pajamas don't matter. So the thing that they said was, what's your top in your business? Like, what's the thing? What's the thing you do that people are needing right now? And then the other thing is it may be that you cannot work right now. So what can you do to maintain the relationships with prior clients? And what can you do to research your competitors, see, you know, maybe this is the time to redo your website. So it's really differs for the different businesses and who needs them. And also, you know, I think the main one though is taking care of yourself so that you're able to then be creative about what you can do. You know, if you're not like sleeping, if you're not doing self-care, you know, then you go into urgency, panic, adrenaline. And so it's like keeping the focus on yourself, taking care of yourself, getting what you need, as you said, Rachel, and then figuring out what you can do and what your clients are needing. And it might be just about setting yourself up for when things reopen.
Excellent, Persephone. Excellent. You wrote something down. Before I go to someone else, and I hope plenty of people have things to say, please contribute, because there is something that you're saying that someone else is needing. I don't have all the information, right? We're all human. So please share, contribute, ask questions. You said, what do you do that people are in need of right now? This is exactly what I was thinking when I was talking earlier. Okay, we don't all need margaritas, but we all need something. They needed it because they needed the sales. But what do we have that people need right now? I heard a few people saying, like a group that I'm in, it's more social, and they said, oh my gosh, I'm tired of my own cooking. I've been cooking every day. I'm tired of my own cooking. So they wanted to eat out. And I know that's controversial right now where people say don't eat out. Some people say do, but the businesses need the business right now. So what do you do that people are in need of right now? What is your specialty? You know, like I said, I love the lady who gave me these, and she's on the call. I saw that gave me the tips about the makeup, right? I need that right now. I could not have come on this call looking like I was looking before. But what do you have? What's your skill set? What's your specialty that people need right now? And so I love that. I love that you talked about learning, growing. How are you going to be when it's over? What skills would you have gained? Someone else, what do you have?
Well, I wanted to just say, I mean, maybe this is a little far-fetched, but this is what I did about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
In my style. I made a list and I said, saving versus making money.
Oh.
What can I save? What money can I save now? Because my idea is to preserve what I have and not spend what I don't need to spend right now. And that went from, even if I don't do it right now, I put it on my list. I'm not buying gas anymore because I'm not using my car. That's a big savings.
That's right.
Do I need, one of my other subscriptions? So I said, I'm trying to do save versus make. So what can I save during this pandemic? And maybe it becomes a good habit and I'll save it forever, not spend that kind of money. Let's face it, I used to go shopping maybe once a week. I don't do that anymore, right? What am I really saving? And then what can I do to make some money, any kind of money? What can I do? You know, I'm teaching actually Spanish and English now that I really wasn't doing much. And who can I contact about that?
Very nice.
If you see right now, many people are taking these little courses online, you know, and maybe you can charge for something. Maybe you can charge a minimum amount because maybe all they need is half an hour. I don't know.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the ideas I have.
I like that. So business is shut down. So do you need to spend as much as you would have before, right? And then also, how can you enhance your business? And also, how can you share your skills and charge for them?
Right. And during that process, you start to explore, maybe I'm good at something else that I didn't know, or maybe I like something more than I thought, or maybe I don't like something else.
Yeah.
Paula Cancro in the chat has shared a site called teachable.com for us to check out.
Okay.
And Rachel is telling us a lot of grants have opened up their regulations, qualifications to be able to provide funding for capital or COVID-19 relief. Candid.com is a good source. Candid.com.
CANDID.com.
Yes.
Okay. Look at that.
Every time we hear of a program like Spanx had a grant program, and Facebook has one, and so look at the resources on WEDC and also Westchester County Economic Development, because we can, both places we are posting when we hear about those grants.
Yep.
Oh,
And
wait, there's a correction to candid.org.
Oh, so not candid.com. Okay. Okay, got it. No, thank you for that. We need that information for sure. All right, so basically, my business is temporarily shut down. What do I do? So we have a few notes here about what are you doing that someone else is needing. We talked about saving on expenses. We talked about researching what state that you're in now that you can overcome. Like, what state will you be in once this is over? We learned about grants and courses that we can take as well. And adding to that, I said research on who we are, what we're doing, and what we need to do. Like how can we be stronger in our, like I said, there's a lot. Okay, what is that I hear?
Yeah, if somebody
someone else want to talk? What's this name? NKECHI?
Yes.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Speak up.
I could use some guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Because along with, it seems every other parent is what they call homeschooling.
Oh.
But I used to, a few years ago, I actually was homeschooling, where you register with the district and really formally homeschool. So when the school shutdowns happened, rather than try to coordinate my 3 different kids at 3 different schools and 3 different devices and all of that, I said, we'll just go back to homeschooling.
Okay.
As I was talking with some just casual parents, people would keep saying, oh, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. And they're asking me to kind of lean into it as like offering a service, whether it's just in the paperwork they need with their districts to make sure they're in compliance with New York State law and things like that. But I don't know. You talked about being true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's really what I want to do, but then this is such a time of opportunity for something like that. So it's a balance. Do I just do it because it might be a way to make a little money, or maybe I'll sit this one out because I'm doing it because it was right for my family. I don't know whether I want to expand it into a business.
Right. So first of all, how do you say your first name?
Catchy.
Catchy?
Catchy.
Okay,
Like,
so I don't say the N, so I got it. So no, thank you for asking that question. And I know it spoke to how Helen talked about earlier, how people were saying with her daughter that she was, people were saying, oh, you're a leader, you're this, and kind of asking her to do certain things, but maybe it's in her heart, maybe it's not. So I say that for you. It's something obviously that people are noticing that you do, and you must do it well, because then they wouldn't ask someone who wasn't doing it well to kind of lead an initiative. You have to do soul searching for yourself. I would start by writing down, and this is what I always tell people to do, write down the top 10 traits that you like about yourself. And it's so funny when I go back to the men, the women. Men do it so well. They just write it all like da, 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 da. Women, they're like, okay, hold on a second, let me think about it. But if you really do, you think about it, think about the things you like about yourself, think about what people, if I was your best friend and I called you, Ketchy, oh, this is where I need help. I knew I could count on you for certain things. And you know that there's certain things that people will call you for because you solve certain problems for people. So I would say first write down the 10 things that you really are proud of about yourself, that you like about yourself. Be arrogant on this one because it's your list, right? Do that. And then write down your top 5 accomplishments, things that, and they're different, right? You may like the way that you problem solve, but then when there are 5 accomplishments, maybe you overcame something to do something. You said that you homeschooled before. Maybe your kids graduated with your homeschooling course with A averages. You put them up in a higher level course. When they had to go back to school, they were already up in a certain, like, I know back in my day, we used to call it accelerated or gifted classes because of your effectiveness in teaching. These are 5 things you really, really are proud of as an accomplishment. You would put them on your resume, or you would put them on your press release, whatever it is. Once you do that, it starts you getting into your mind about knowing yourself. See if then that becoming a leader or a teacher or a coordinator of a homeschooling course would then fit in the guises of that. I'm not telling you to even go as far as to talk about what you want to do with your life, because right now you might be it sounds like you're in I don't want to call confusion because I don't want to say something in that, but you're reviewing what you want to do. So just look at those things and say, if I add to these accomplishments, that I am a coordinator of a homeschooling course, would this be something that I would be proud of? Then that's the way to go. If you say, oh, this is more of a diversion, something that I'm not so interested in, then maybe not. Go with what's in your gut, not with what someone else wants from you. Go with what's in your gut, even if you're missing something. I always say that there's 2 types of butterflies. One is the one that says, this does not even feel right. But one is the one where I'm a little nervous because this is something that might be daunting, right? But it excites me, but I'm a little nervous because it's really stepping out. That's something that's good. But the one that says this doesn't fit at all, this doesn't even feel right, it gives me nightmares, then that's what you should do. So that's my perspective. Start there. And if it's something that really fits with you, then do it. If it's not, then say, thanks, I'll keep homeschooling my children.
And Rachel, I'll add in, I think when you look at your accomplishments, it highlights your abilities. And if you, like my example, because I did that exercise once, everything that was in my top accomplishments, I was synthesizing things. So I was, whether it's a business plan or giving a talk, it was like taking a lot of data and boiling it down to what is the message. So the ability is synthesizing. So when I think about opportunities, I think about, am I going to get to synthesize? And it could be a written or a verbal or, but anyway, so that's what I like. And I've seen that in career counseling, Rachel, where you want to get at the things you're wired to do, like that you're built to do this. And when that's in the job, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like fun almost. Yep. So that's why I think the significant accomplishments highlights underneath them your abilities.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you, Persephone. Ketchy, how's that?
I have some guidance. I'll do my top 10.
Yep.
And my 5 accomplishments.
Top 10 things that you love about yourself. and the top 5 accomplishments for which you are most proud.
And then
All
yeah,
right.
that's true. I didn't really think about, well, how did my kids turn out? Start writing it out and see what pops.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then you can come to Wetsy in the fall and develop your idea into a business with Helen.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. All
Thank
right.
you.
You're welcome. All right. So that was very good conversation. And like I was saying, in terms of my business is shut down, what do? I love the ideas that we had, looking up opportunities. The grants, I love the fact that they've opened up. People have been scared of the stimulus loans because of the word loan. But if there's grants out there, there's opportunities. There are all these resources. People, I saw in the, and you even said in the chat line that there are resources that we can go to. Also, don't forget about Wetsy. You know, these are resources that we can lean on to help us to become stronger in the things that we need. What I like is that, like I said, we were in a big pot before the pandemic, but now it's survival of the fittest. A lot of people may not survive. It's not a good thing for businesses that will fail, but it lets you know that there's a chance for you to step up and really show and shine. We just saw Ketchy talking about a different opportunity for her. Maybe we're seeking different opportunities. Maybe we want to expand our business. Maybe we've strayed a little bit and say, hey, I want to try this. I want to go back to my roots. I need to make sure that I'm leading people properly. What skills can I attain in this time that I have a little more time to sit and think about myself? Do I have this long to-do list that I've been meaning to take care of, but I just haven't had the time or the areas or the time to focus? Research, I have to-do lists, exploration, becoming a strong business again. Okay, if you got lost, it's time to be found. Now, because of the timing, we won't get to the other 3 questions, but I don't want to leave them out in case someone, if it's something that's really tickling you. So number 3, great employee, but overqualified for current position. This speaks about the fact that also in leadership, we need to make tough decisions. We didn't say that, but we talked about decisiveness. But we may need to make, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry, great employee, but overqualified. It's time then maybe that employee steps up to be in a leadership role. But don't just step that person up into a leadership role. They need training. I've seen too many times, and that's how I formed Change Your Story. My initial thought was people who got into leadership roles, but they didn't know how to lead. And you could be a great employee, not the best leader. You need leadership training. So send that person off to a leadership class. Get them a mentor, someone who can show them how to be a people leader so they can be successful and so their employees can be successful. Number 2, family-owned business. It's small. Your first cousin on your spouse's side is not working out. This is where you may need to make a tough decision. Is this person really cut out for the business? But you may not need to just let them go. Find them something else to do in the business. Maybe they're not good with numbers, so they can't be your accountant. Maybe they can be your creative director and do your marketing, something like that. Find them another position, but don't risk your business because you're trying to be loyal to something else. This is that tough decision making. Number 1, today I'm a coworker, tomorrow I'm their boss. This is where someone who wrote communication is very important because today, yes, we had lunch in the break room. Maybe we went out and went to a party together, but now you have to say, things have changed now. You know, you don't have to sit there and, you know, sit down and be quiet, or you don't have to feel obligated to continue to have a personal relationship like you did before. You can just say, you know, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I know you wouldn't do anything to say compromise that. I've worked very hard and I'm very happy about this. So, but I know our relationship will change. You have to make, again, a tough decision, but you have to be the boss and no longer just a buddy, right? And it is not easy. This one is a very touchy question. We spent a lot of time on this before, and it's probably something that I'll explore more in another leadership course. But this one is important because you are not in the same capacity and you can't continue to act that way.
We have a question. We have a question in the chat. Any tips if you are that great overqualified employee asking for a raise, especially during such hard economic times like the current climate?
So it's funny you say that. On June 20th, I don't know if I'm supposed to plug, but I'm going to ask for forgiveness. On June 20th, I'm doing salary negotiation. I know that's not close, but there's a lot that goes into this, and this is a conversation that we can't have in these, even if we had an hour, because, well, actually we probably needed an hour, we could do it, but it's very important about asking for a raise, because you can't just say, hey, I think I need more money, or hey, I deserve more money. It has to be very fact-based, and a lot goes into it. Is it wrong to ask during this time? No, but you also have to consider the state of your company, because maybe they have allocated resources elsewhere. Some companies have put salaries on hold to a later time because of this, having to reinvest. Some are allocating for the downturn in sales. If you are someone that deserves it, and you know you do, because you can then list, like I told Ketchy about those accomplishments, you have those that say I've gone above and beyond my job, or I know I have proof that I'm underpaid, then you have the right to make that request. You do it the right way. And I'm going to share my information if you want to talk about it, but make that request the right way, meaning fact-based, meaning showing the proof, meaning not just saying I deserve it, but talking about why. And then maybe they either say yes, which is great, no, but then talk about then what is behind that. So no, not now. No, I don't think you're qualified. No, I need more information. No, whatever reason, then you have forward actions with that. Or they say not now because of something that's valid. And then you can actually get something in writing to say that as soon as the salary opens up, or the salary period opens up, then you can get that raise. So there's a lot that goes into that. We need to have a different discussion. But I will have a workshop on that on the 20th of June.
I wanted to add something, if I may. When we talk about our accomplishments, make sure, this is what we always did, make sure you mention numbers. I accomplished how many of these? I saved how much money, or I made so much money. I also have, done above and beyond, but what exactly? It has to be very, very specific what you did. Remember, when you're talking to your manager, your boss, whatever you want to call him, they may not realize that you really do all these things.
Yep.
So patting yourself on the back with real numbers and real qualifications that you actually put into work, you have to remind them. When I consulted, young people in college, they told me, I didn't get it. I said, did you ask for it? Did you ask for it? No, I thought they knew. No, that you can't think that they know, especially if they're managing many other people, right? So you don't want to be the person that's always saying, I did this and I did that, but you definitely want to keep track of what you've accomplished. Yep. And I also see that when you get to that position that you're really not being, valued, it may be time for you to open your own business. Part-time.
There's a lot of options. I like that, Helen. Yep, a new job.
Part-time, open your little business,
like
explore, keep that job meanwhile. And you never know when they're going to need you, because you don't know if the person on top of you is leaving, or unfortunately something can happen to them. So don't give up hope.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. You're absolutely right. And like she said, and that's what I think. I like that you explained it all the way out. Helen, I said fact-based, but you talked about it even better, using the numbers, using the statistics. Tell how you've gone above and beyond. Don't say above and beyond. Tell me what you actually did. So there's a lot. That's why I said it's a lot with salary negotiation, for sure. So, all right, going to the last slide, what to remember, almost the last slide. Leadership is influence. Remember that, influence. So when you say, oh, I'm not a leader, I'm not really a leader, do you influence people? Do you influence ideas? Yes, it is. Leadership can be taught, and it's worth the investment. Leadership skills are worth the investment. WedSeed makes it very easy, free and $10. Even with all of the workshops are really a great deal. Please take advantage of it. And we all need good leadership. People think that they don't. You all need good leadership. We all do. We will follow someone. If not you, who will someone follow? And again, you may not want to be the people leader, but there are things just coming to this in your occupation, in your industry, in your entrepreneur venture. There are people that you're influencing. We all need someone positive to look up to. And please, so don't just sit on it, embrace it. And I want to thank you all for your time. You see, I have a lot of connection channels here. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh, I put TB. I don't know what TB is. It's supposed to be FB. I apologize. CYS, which is Change Your Story with Rachel, changeyourstory.today, rachelgatling.com, and my email is rgatling@changeyourstory.today. I would like for you to connect with me because I'm going to be doing 2 drawings on Friday. So today is Tuesday. I'll be doing two drawings on Friday. Send me a note. I'm going to do a drawing for a free session with me. Okay. And also I created a planner last year, a Change Your Story Year of You, ooh, light, Year of You planner, which is very good. It puts together a lot of my concepts, is making a year of being successful, learning yourself. To me, learning yourself is successful. And so
You have a testimonial from Paula Cancro.
oh, I do. Yay. Thank you, Paula.
Great planner.
Thank you so much. So yes, please connect with me, and I'm going to do the drawing for 2 people on Friday, 1 for the planner, 1 for a session with me. Please send me email. Know that my website, changeyourstory.today, is in what do you call this, being worked on. The guys, you'll see that some things are populated, some things are not, but if you send me a note, I definitely get it. And if you go to my website and go to the contact us, I get that as well. I would also like to get your feedback on today. What was done well and what could be done better? Usually I told you I focus on what's done well, but I want to continue these things. And I have 3 workshops coming up: leadership, I have the salary negotiation, I also have the managing yourself workshop as well. These things are coming up, and they're listed at events on my Calendly page, but not so much on my website. So that's why I need to get your information. As soon as these guys get it together, then I'll be able to be able to post that, and you can sign up. And I think that is it. Persephone,
Yeah.
I'll give it over to you. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel. We just so appreciate your pivoting to a webinar and your flexibility to, shorten it and have me interrupt you every 2 minutes. And so thank you. And this has just been such great, information. And it's just good to, I think what I'm walking away with is just the sort of, how can I help be in relationship with my clients? What can I be doing to develop my business right now, even if it's not about doing business? And then how can I be a leader and influence from a place of authenticity, so that when I'm really being me, other people can be themselves, and we have authentic connection that then makes them think of me when they want, they refer me or whatever. It doesn't necessarily always mean that a conversation or a networking event's going to lead to a direct sale, but it leads to, people feel heard and seen, and they remember you and they talk to you about with others. So lots of other tips, but those are the ones I'm walking away with. And thank you, Helen, for your input as well. And Helen's an amazing instructor, and she's going to be teaching our White Plains Fall class. It might be virtual. We're not sure yet whether it's in person or
here.
But she did a Zoom class for us just the other week. People loved it. And so thank you, everybody. I can just say, I love how at WEDC we just always learn things. We make connections, new friends, new workmates. And it's just a great place, I think, to figure out who you are, what you do well, and who needs what you do, and to build that plan to get there. So thanks, everybody, and hang in there, stay safe and healthy.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Great, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.